Pearls are beautiful, but they are not as warm and delicate as the sand flowing between fingers. The most beautiful form of love is often hidden in the trivialities of life. It is the simple and sincere moments in these ordinary days that build the strongest and most reluctant harbor in Summer's heart. At this moment, her heart is ups and downs. Ethan's return brings the joy of reunion, but it is also intertwined with choices and troubles. The joy comes from the long-lost longing in the heart, the troubles are because of the small nests that each has built, which makes this reunion more complicated. In the dead of night, Summer stood alone on the balcony, looking at the moon outside the window, and her longing surged like a tide. She couldn't help but miss Ethan. She knew that life is like a play, but they are the protagonists in each other's lives. His appearance made Summer's life script come alive again. She no longer asked for company day and night, but only wanted to snuggle in the depths of her heart. Even if time passes and years change, her heart still stays in that familiar harbor. The most unforgettable thing in this world is the person who has entered your heart. Whether we see each other or not, we still miss each other. Whether we contact each other or not, we are still in our hearts. Time cannot cut off the longing, and years cannot disperse the feelings. We have given our sincerity and deep affection. Even if we will never meet again in this life, the feelings will remain the same and unwavering. Recalling the past, thinking of each other, it is warm. Whether we see each other or not, it is in our hearts. There is a kind of love that will never change whether you accompany each other or not. There is no need to hold hands and hug, and there is no need to meet every day. As long as you know that there is someone in the world who you always keep in your heart, it is the best ending. Summer's mind echoed these words again and again. After 10 years of separation, she didn't know how to face him now. She curled up in the sofa and quietly recalled the past. In the dim light, you can see her confused eyes and tears falling. I don't know how long it took, she gradually closed her eyes. In her dream, she seemed to have returned to 10 years ago. The cinema was dark, as if immersed in the endless night sky. Summer had to open her eyes wide and try to see the surroundings clearly. With the dim light of the screen, she vaguely saw 2 rows of seats. Just as she was about to take a step to find the stairs, she saw a square flashing sign with a capital H on it. Summer subconsciously looked inside and saw a person, a familiar person. Summer was stunned for a moment, shook her head, calmed down, and tried to wake herself up from the familiar figure. But her heartbeat accelerated involuntarily. That figure seemed like the person she missed, and her heart was rippled. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She found a seat in the corner of the theater and sat down, trying to avoid attracting the man's attention, but her heart couldn't help but surge with a familiar throbbing again. She muttered in her heart, when I chose my seat, there was obviously no one in this row. She moved closer to the back of the chair and carefully looked for the seat number, but still couldn't see it clearly. She thought to herself, forget it, today is not the weekend, there are not so many people, just sit here. After the whole movie, this seat was really empty. When the movie slowly came to an end, what followed was the aftertaste and infinite reverie surging from the depths of the soul. At that moment, the screen was dark, but the light of the story quietly bloomed in her heart. Summer recalled that she had not yet walked out of the role. The movie left her with deep reflections, which echoed in her mind for a long time. As time passed, they still could not forget the past. They were used to watching movies alone, unloading the fatigue of a week, and forgetting the mess in life. Recharged energy and continued the journey of life. But she never expected that Ethan's heart, like her, had never left. May time be gentle, so that this friendship will last forever, and accompany each other as before. This scene is the most beautiful scenery in life. At this moment, as if it was a clever arrangement of fate, the movie ended, and a light flashed in front of her eyes. Summer was stunned. Ethan was standing there, not a dream, but a real reunion. They snuggled together, gave each other a warm hug, and felt each other's breathing and heartbeat. It seemed that time stopped at this moment. This love was finally responded to, and the encounter became the most beautiful adventure. Summer did not want to wake up from the dream, and would rather be immersed in this beautiful dream forever. The beauty of 10 years ago, that warm feeling and romance, seemed to be frozen in her memory. However, in the 10 years since her marriage, she has never felt that sweet love again. Marriage life makes her feel endlessly tired. Her husband is busy with work and intrigues with colleagues and superiors every day, and when he comes home, he complains and blames her. Every night, he accompanies clients to drink and talk business, and often comes back late at night. He is exhausted, tired like a dead dog. He steps into the house, lies on the bed without taking a shower, and sleeps soundly. This kind of life has made Summer feel desperate. She just wants to find a little space for herself in the busy life. She hopes to find a little comfort and warmth in the fatigue of balancing work and family. Summer no longer wants to live like this and chooses to leave. She asks friends for help and finds an apartment not far from the company. Put down the burden and pressure on her body and start a new life. In the early morning, the coldness quietly invades, and what she desires most is to immerse herself in the warmth of the quilt, wrapped tightly, and linger with the morning light. However, the sudden ringing of the mobile phone at the bedside, like a gust of cold wind in winter, penetrated her dream. Although her eyes were still sleepy, she reached out her hand to grope in the dark, and her fingertips finally touched the cold body of the phone, and answered the call instinctively. A gentle voice sounded in her ears, "Hello, who woke up in the morning light? Not fully awake yet?" There was a hint of smile in the other party's words. This sound, like morning dew, awakened all her senses. She sat up suddenly, her eyes brightened instantly, and quickly responded, I got up a long time ago." "Did you indulge in the night again last night and stay awake for a long time?" the other party asked with concern. "No, absolutely not." She quickly defended herself, then changed the subject. Her concern was evident in her words. "How are you? How are you over there? Is your work going well? The weather is getting colder, remember to put on more clothes to keep warm." After a series of caring, the other end of the phone only said a few words, but it was like a spring breeze and rain, warming her heart. "I'm back, Beijing Airport Terminal 2, come and pick me up in 30 minutes. There's a surprise." Summer's heart was instantly filled with an urgent emotion. She sat up suddenly from the warm bed, and her sleepiness was instantly dispelled. She quickly jumped out of bed, her bare feet quickly swept across the carpet, and a cold touch made her wake up instantly. She quickly searched for clothes and grabbed a piece at random. She looked at her clothes in the mirror and felt that they were not perfect enough. So she opened the closet again and picked out a more eye-catching dress. Standing in front of the mirror, looking at her slender legs and high heels, she nodded with satisfaction. Then, Summer's hands quickly searched for cosmetics on the dressing table, her brows furrowed, as if she was fighting a silent battle. Her eyes quickly scanned herself in the mirror, trying to make herself look more energetic. Her fingers gently slid across her face, like an artist carefully carving, making her face more perfect. Everything was ready in just 5 minutes. She rushed out of the room, stepped into the elevator in a hurry, and quickly pressed the button to the basement. Time seemed to freeze in the elevator, and her mood seemed to be crossing in a torrent. The elevator door opened, and she quickly drove her chariot, Ferrari, rushed out of the garage, and sped on the city road. The wind whistled past her ears, her long hair fluttered in the wind, and she hummed her favorite songs softly. Fortunately, her home was not far from the airport, and she arrived soon. Summer parked the car, took out the flowers that had been prepared long ago from the car, and walked lightly into the terminal lobby. Just then, she saw Anna, her best friend. The two hugged each other tightly. Anna's eyes were full of surprise and longing, and they seemed to have endless topics to talk about, and they soon started chatting. However, at this warm moment, a tall figure came from a distance. Summer's heartbeat accelerated instantly. She didn't expect that Ethan and Anna came back together. The atmosphere around suddenly became tense, as if everyone's eyes were focused on him. Anna seemed to notice it, and found an excuse to leave with her secretary in a hurry. Summer and Ethan's eyes confronted each other in the air for a long time, and they stared at each other quietly. Finally, Summer broke the silence first. "Are you okay?" There was concern and expectation in her voice. Ethan nodded slightly. "I'm fine, how about you?" Although their conversation was simple, it was full of deep emotions. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped, and only the two of them existed in this space. They smiled at each other, and all the waiting and longing turned into a silent hug at this moment. They walked hand in hand in the hall of the airport, enjoying this hard-won reunion. Summer's heart was filled with gratitude and happiness. She knew that no matter how many challenges and difficulties they would face in the future, as long as they loved and supported each other, nothing could stop them. Ethan handed the luggage and car keys to the driver, explained the work arrangements for tomorrow to the secretary, and drove Summer's car back to the apartment. The cool breeze blew on her face. At a speed of 120 miles per hour, Summer's hands trembled slightly. She felt the coolness of autumn, but her heart was as hot as fire. Ethan held Summer's cold hand and warmed her. Soon they arrived at the downstairs of the apartment building. They were reluctant to leave, holding each other's hands and unwilling to separate. The sunlight shone through the mottled leaves and sprinkled on Summer's pink face, making her look more delicate and charming. Her fair skin was moist and smooth, as good as ever. Ethan looked at the beauty in front of him, his heart full of attachment and love. He couldn't help but lower his head and kissed her with his plump lips. In Summer's ear, he whispered, "Are you really willing to let me go? Long time no see, why don't you invite me upstairs to sit with you?" Summer's face flushed, her eyes full of shyness. Although she didn't respond, her hands were tightly clenched and didn't loosen. Ethan's mouth slightly raised, he knew that Summer had acquiesced. The two walked into the apartment hand in hand. The room was not big, but it was decorated warmly and elegantly. Summer opened the curtains, and the warm sunlight filled the whole room. Ethan gently pulled Summer to sit on the sofa, and his eyes never left Summer's face. "I have been thinking about you all these years." Ethan broke the silence, with a little tremor in his voice. Summer smiled, but tears welled up in her eyes. "Me too, I thought I would never see you again." The two could no longer suppress the passion in each other's hearts. Kissing each other deeply, they forgot everything and felt each other's tenderness. In every touch of the skin, the two were passionate and unstoppable. This kind of love, warm and pure, seemed to melt everything. At this moment, Ethan put his gentle hand into her skirt and touched her gently. Summer did not refuse, like a gentle lamb, sticking to his chest and humming. Suddenly, a rapid phone ring rang, and Summer got up to answer the phone. Ethan's eyes flashed a trace of uneasiness. After Summer answered the phone, her face turned pale. "Ethan, there is an emergency at the company. I need to go there immediately." Ethan frowned and stood up. "Don't worry, I'll take you there." Summer hugged him tightly. "No need, you rest here for a while and wait for me to come back." Ethan nodded. Although he was full of worry and reluctance, he still respected Summer's decision. Summer turned and left in a hurry, and Ethan stayed alone in the room. On the plane, Ethan, who didn't sleep well all night, was really a little tired. He sent the secretary a seat and asked him to help send a set of clean clothes, then walked into the bathroom and took a hot shower. The warm water flowed over his body, but it failed to dispel the worries in his heart. Ethan's thoughts were in a mess, entangled, and recalled everything that had just happened. How long can such a beautiful thing last? He didn't dare to think about it. The divorce was still like a tangled thread that couldn't be untied, lying across his life without being resolved. Many affairs of the foreign company were like surging waves, one after another, waiting for him to go back and deal with them. In total, he and Summer didn't spend much time together. After taking a shower, Ethan sat on the sofa in a bathrobe, looking out the window with empty eyes. Ding-ling-ling. The ringing of the mobile phone broke the silence. It was Ivy calling. Ethan, can we talk again? Ivy's voice was pleading. Ethan took a deep breath. Ivy, I really don't know how to face you. Is our relationship over? You said you would make me happy. Ivy cried on the other end of the phone. Ethan's heart hurt as if it was pricked by a needle. Wait until I finish my work here, and then I'll talk when I go back. I have something else to do. After saying that, he hung up the phone casually. Suddenly, the phone rang again. Ethan picked up the phone impatiently, answered the call, and said angrily, "Can you let me be quiet for a while? I told you that I will go back after I finish my work." At this time, the secretary's voice came from the other end of the phone. "Mr. Ethan, I brought you the clothes. They are at the door." Ethan simply responded, opened the door, and took the clothes. After changing his clothes, he was still restless and paced back and forth in the room. He didn't want to wait here alone. He was eager to see Summer immediately, to be with her all the time, and didn't want to be separated for a moment. He picked up the phone and was about to press the button to ask the driver to pick him up. At this time, a crisp ringtone suddenly rang. Seeing that the screen showed that it was a call from Summer, his heart instantly beat excitedly, and an excited smile bloomed on his face. He couldn't wait to tell her immediately, "I will be at your company soon, wait for me." However, when he answered the phone, the voice coming from the receiver was like a bolt from the blue, which frightened him. "Hello, hello. Is this Miss Summer's family?" Miss Summer just fainted. "We are in the 120 ambulance now, accompanying her to the Yangtze River Hospital." Before he finished speaking, Ethan's face turned pale and his mind went blank. "No, Summer, you can't be in trouble," he shouted frantically in his heart, and hung up the phone rudely without thinking. He seemed to be pushed by an invisible and powerful force, and his body instantly flew out like an arrow from a string. In the corridor, his footsteps sounded like rapid drumbeats, thump thump thump. His breathing became rapid and heavy, and every breath seemed to be burned by fire, and hot air gushed out of his mouth and nose, like an angry little monster. "Summer, wait for me, you must wait for me." He ran and muttered in his heart, fear like an invisible big hand tightly grasping his heart. He was afraid of losing her, afraid that he would never see her bright smile again, and never hear her gentle voice again. Rushing out of the building, he looked around in panic, not waiting for the elevator to slowly descend, and rushed to the stairs in 2 steps. His heavy footsteps and panting echoed in the stairwell, and his hands tightly grasped the handrail, with blue veins on his hands bulging, as if he wanted to crush the handrail into powder. Coming to the street, he waved his arms desperately and stopped a taxi. "Driver, Yangtze River Hospital, hurry! Hurry!" His voice was trembling and anxious, and his eyes were full of fear and anxiety, like a frightened deer. The moment the taxi started, Ethan's heart was hanging. Hurry up, we must catch up," he urged anxiously in his heart, wishing he could fly over like a whirlwind. The car moved forward with difficulty on the congested streets, and every pause made him anxious, and it felt like his heart was being burned on fire. "Driver, can you go faster? Please?" He kept urging the driver, his voice almost begging. His fingers kept tapping the edge of the window, and his heartbeat was clearly audible in the silent car, as if ringing the alarm bell of life. The taxi sped along, and Ethan's eyes were always fixed on the window, praying in his heart that Summer must be safe. The wind poured in from the window, ruffling his hair, but he was unaware of it. His eyes were only filled with an eager desire for the hospital, and that desire was like a blazing fire that could not be extinguished. Summer, who was dying, finally woke up after repeated compressions. She opened her eyes and saw Ethan by her side. Tears immediately rushed out. Ethan held her hand tightly, as if to pass on all his strength and courage to her, and comforted her. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." His voice was a little hoarse, but full of firmness and comfort. At this time, the attending doctor walked in with heavy steps. Summer hurriedly wiped the tears from her face with her hands, not wanting the doctor to see her fragility and helplessness. The doctor called Ethan out and told him solemnly that from various indicators, Summer's current condition was like teetering on the edge of a cliff, extremely dangerous, and surgery must be performed immediately, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Ethan waited anxiously outside the operating room like an ant on a hot pot. Every minute and every second was like a long torture and endless torment for him. His hands were clenched into fists, and the joints were pale due to excessive force. Fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, and the beads of sweat rolled down one by one, as if they were the embodiment of his inner anxiety. The indicator light during the operation was always on, and the dazzling light was like a sword of Damocles hanging high above his head, making Ethan's heart hang high. His thoughts were like flying catkins, recalling every bit of knowing and loving Summer. He kept repeating in his heart, "Summer, you must survive. We still have so many beautiful days to spend together, and so many dreams to realize." Fear followed him like a shadow. He was afraid of losing Summer and afraid that their future would become bleak because of this operation. God, please bless Summer to be safe. As long as she can get better, I am willing to do anything. Ethan's heart was full of prayers and uneasiness. I don't know how long it took, as if it was a century, and the door of the operating room finally slowly opened. The doctor looked tired, as if he had just experienced a tough battle. Ethan rushed to meet him, his eyes full of anxiety and worry, and asked in a trembling voice, "Doctor, how is she?" The doctor took off his mask and said slowly, "The operation went well, but the subsequent recovery is crucial and requires careful care." Hearing this news, Ethan's tense nerves relaxed a little like a loose bowstring. He came to Summer's bedside, looking at Summer, who was pale as paper and still in a coma, and felt as distressed as if he was pierced by thousands of arrows. Acute myocardial infarction almost took Summer's life mercilessly. In the following days, Ethan took care of Summer almost every step of the way. He got up early every day to make porridge for her, carefully fed her one spoonful at a time, talked to her, and encouraged her to face it with gentle words. Under Ethan's careful care, Summer's body was like a delicate flower gently soothed by the spring breeze, slowly glowing with vigorous vitality. Every morning, he gets up early and carefully selects ingredients. He walks between the stalls in the vegetable market, carefully comparing the freshness of each ingredient, and his serious look seems to be selecting the most precious treasure in the world. He carefully cooks the nutritious porridge. The porridge is soft and delicate, and full of fragrance. Every mouthful is full of his deep affection and focused care. He gently and carefully blows the porridge to the right temperature, and then gently sends it to Summer's lips. His eyes are filled with endless care and careful concentration, as if Summer is the center of his whole world. He carefully tidied the bed for Summer, smoothing every wrinkle. The gentle movement is like protecting a priceless treasure, allowing her to rest in a clean and comfortable environment. When chatting with her to relieve boredom, his voice is as warm as jade and as gentle as the wind, just like a gurgling clear stream, soothing Summer's fragile heart. Every story he told, every word of comfort, was like the sunshine in spring, warm and full of hope. However, this experience made Summer think about life in a new and profound way. She was shocked to find that life was so fragile, like a candlelight swaying in the wind, which could go out at any time. The feeling of that moment was like a flash of lightning that flashed through her heart and made her wake up. So, she resolutely decided to change her previous state of working hard, no longer let the busy work occupy all of her life, but cherish every minute and every second with Ethan. She recalled the days in the past when she ignored life for work, and her heart was full of regret and self-blame, which also strengthened her determination to change. Ethan also re-examined his life trajectory because of this incident. He knew that compared with the success and fame of foreign companies, Summer's company and happiness were the most precious treasures in his life. He decisively put aside the affairs of foreign companies and put more time and energy on Summer without reservation, just like the sun shining on the earth. Once, he fought for his career in a foreign country, facing loneliness and pressure countless nights, but now he understands that true happiness is not success, but the company of his beloved. After a period of quiet recuperation, Summer finally recovered happily like a bird that broke free from its shackles. They walked hand in hand in the park together. The warm sunshine was like a soft veil, gently draped over them. The sunshine passed through the gaps in the leaves, casting mottled light and shadow, just like the bits and pieces of their lives, beautiful and warm. The breeze was like a gentle hand, caressing their faces, bringing the fragrance of flowers and the freshness of grass, making people feel relaxed and happy. This experience made me understand that the most important thing in life is you. Summer looked at Ethan affectionately and said, her eyes were like a clear spring, clear and moving. Tears flashed in her eyes, which was a more determined light after going through wind and rain. Ethan held her tightly in his arms, as if to integrate her into his life. I will always stay by your side and never let you get hurt again. His voice trembled slightly, with endless affection and determination. From then on, they walked through every spring, summer, autumn and winter hand in hand. The power of love was like a solid foundation, making them more determined to face the future life. They walked through the streets and alleys of the city together, tasting all kinds of delicious food. Those delicacies not only satisfied the taste buds, but also carried their common memories. The street food stall exuded an enticing aroma. They tasted the skewers together, inhaling the spiciness, but laughing heartily. In the exquisite restaurant, they enjoyed a romantic candlelight dinner, and each other's eyes were full of love. Traveling together to famous mountains and rivers, and appreciating the magnificence and vastness of nature. The majesty of mountains and rivers and the surging of rivers have become witnesses of their love. Standing on the top of Mount Tai, looking at the magnificent sunrise, they hugged and cried, sighing at the magic of nature and grateful for each other's company. Strolling along the bank of West Lake, the sparkling lake reflected their happy figures, the breeze blew, and the willow branches swayed gently, as if dancing for their love. Face the difficulties and setbacks in life together, support and encourage each other. No matter how the wind and rain invade, their love has become deeper and deeper in the baptism of the years, and each other has become an indispensable and irreplaceable existence in each other's life. When they encountered financial difficulties, they lived frugally together and worked together to overcome the difficulties. When faced with misunderstandings and doubts from others, they trusted each other and firmly guarded each other. Time flies, and the years are like a shuttle. Their story is like an unfinished poem, flowing slowly in the long river of time. Every chapter is full of love and hope, challenges and growth. They believe that as long as there is love, faith, and persistence in their hearts, they will be able to create a beautiful future of their own. In this world full of variables, they chose each other. Just like the ever-bright pearl and the delicate and warm sand, their love also blooms the most dazzling light in the triviality and ordinariness of life. Their story does not end, but continues quietly in a more subtle way. On that quiet night, Summer and Ethan were immersed in memories, as if time had gone back to the beautiful encounter 10 years ago. Encounter and sweetness, 10 years ago. He is the boss of a domestic office supplies and daily necessities company, and was once a young and promising talented boy. 10 years ago, he met Summer, and the trajectory of his life was completely different. He is rich, talented, and good-looking, and he can definitely find a rich lady who is both talented and beautiful and can support his career development. But fate always plays tricks on people. When his career was at its peak, he met Summer, a pure, kind, cute, and somewhat arrogant girl. Summer has lived in a courtyard since she was a child. She has not seen much of the world, but has always lived in the small courtyard where she feels happy and quiet. She likes that kind of calm and peaceful life. Her family treats her as a baby at home. No matter how difficult life is, no one will treat her unfairly. Summer grew up in such a carefree and pampered family, becoming the arrogant princess in that poor family. Although she was weak since childhood, she walked with extraordinary temperament. She was arrogant and proud when she went shopping in the mall, with her hands behind her back, as if she was inspecting. Like a proud peacock. It was her arrogant energy that deeply attracted the young and promising boy Ethan. Dingling phone. Talk about the earliest ringtones of Motorola mobile phones were so simple. At that time, Summer could own such a mobile phone, which made many young people who had just graduated envious. A young girl, working hard alone outside, made her family really worried. Her parents saved money to buy her a mobile phone to carry with them, so that they could contact her at any time. Poor parents in the world, this arrogant princess who has never left her parents, now rebelliously left the family that spoiled and followed her, and started a new life alone. On the way to start a new life, in this wonderful world, she, who was alone, met him accidentally at a colleague's party. Ethan looked around, as if he was looking for something. Then he walked to a quiet corner and found Summer sitting alone in a rocking chair. He walked over gently and came to her. He greeted her very gentlemanly, but she seemed not to hear him and quietly flipped through the collection of Zhu Ziqing's prose poems. He didn't care, and sat down quietly, staring at this quiet and elegant girl. He saw that her eyelashes were so long, she had a pair of charming smiling eyes, and pink skin. Her calm look made the man's eyes shine, and he was stunned. He was immersed in the world of two people, with a smile on his lips, watching this beautiful girl. He seemed to be appreciating a gentle, poetic and literary woman in an ancient painting. At this time, her cell phone rang. Dingling. It turned out that it was a call from her friend Anna. She told Summer that her friend helped her buy a Samsung X799 candy bar phone. Moreover, the boss also came today and brought the silver flip phone she had been looking forward to for a long time. Summer was so happy that she couldn't hold back her mood, hung up the phone and ran out. She didn't notice that there was someone watching her. She was flying in a long white gauze dress, which looked particularly beautiful and elegant in the moonlight. Her lovely straightforwardness and lovely personality also made the tough boy who was kind to women laugh. Since the party, Ethan has been unable to eat or drink every day. Sometimes, he sits in the office in a daze, sometimes, he thinks alone, and sometimes he smiles foolishly alone. In short, mortals ignore him and no one sees him. He is alone in the room, doing things that ordinary people can't understand inexplicably and weirdly. He keeps flipping through his phone, thinking about the girl at the party that night, Summer. When Ethan was intoxicated and reminiscing, the door of the office opened. "Ethan, you haven't eaten for 2 days. I brought you your favorite mending meat pie. Please eat it quickly." Ethan's secretary, Xiao Wang, kept talking to him. Ethan couldn't stand it anymore and said, "You are a man, a handsome guy, why are you dawdling like an old lady?" After that, Ethan picked up the phone again and opened the phone book and kept flipping through it. Xiao Wang, who was kind but was scolded, couldn't swallow this breath after being rejected. He angrily replied, "My kindness is taken as a donkey's liver and lungs." After that, he left angrily. Summer got the new phone but was still unhappy. Because the previous phone had been broken and couldn't be turned on. When talking about this old phone, Summer's best friend Chen Xiaoxiao would be furious. Summer is really pitiful, having such a father. As long as her father is not satisfied, his temper is more anxious than anyone else. No matter what it is, how valuable it is. As long as I can vent my anger, I don't care about anything else, I will just smash it. I will just change it to make myself feel better. I finally helped this best friend save money and found someone to buy this new phone they had been looking forward to for a long time. The old man hit her again, and the screen was smashed to pieces. Oh. Be a good person to the end. Anna couldn't help but feel distressed when she saw Summer's anxious look. She boasted, "Don't worry, as long as I'm here, there's nothing that can't be solved." Now, she's fulfilling her promise right after she finished boasting. She started to help Summer find someone to repair her phone and export the phone numbers in the previous phone book. Now, this is really not a difficult task, cloning and Bluetooth connection can be done quickly. But at that time, the technology was far behind what it is now. Moreover, those who can afford mobile phones and know friends who sell mobile phones are all rich people. As the saying goes, People of different social classes know different friends, and they have different social circles. Anna had no choice but to call Ethan's mobile number again to ask for help. Ethan, who had been looking through his phone, seemed to be looking for something. He was a little hungry and tired after not eating for 2 days. He was about to leave the office when he suddenly received a call from Anna saying that she wanted him to help find someone to repair Summer's mobile phone. He was ecstatic and excited. After hanging up the phone, he happily called Secretary Wang. Let's go, I'll treat you to spicy hot pot." What happened suddenly made Ethan's mood change 180 degrees. Secretary Wang was puzzled. Angrily, he followed this fickle man out of the company. Along the way, they didn't talk to each other. Even if he asked how to get there or where the car was going, Secretary Wang was still very angry and spoke in a rude manner. Ethan saw that Secretary Wang ignored him. At this moment, he realized that his words today really hurt this good buddy's heart. But even so, they, who were friends for life and death, had already understood each other. After a meal and a bottle of wine, they returned to the past. After the mobile phone incident, Ethan asked his friends for help, so that all the problems were solved smoothly. In order to thank her friends, Summer took the opportunity of the birthday party. Everyone had a meal together and met Ethan, a new friend, in KTV. Ethan's handsome appearance really touched Summer's heart. And the cute snowman music box that Ethan gave to Summer at the birthday party also became the best gift that could accompany Summer in her lonely nights. After get off work, Summer returned to the deserted rental house alone, opened the beautiful music box, and listened to the beautiful music quietly. Her mood was so quiet and happy. That kind of comfortable comfort made her feel the warmth of home. Summer, who was painting and listening to music, was interrupted by a hurried knock on the door outside. After opening the door, the landlord's wife appeared. When she saw Summer, she started to curse at her. Summer didn't have a chance to explain, so she had to listen quietly. Who made her meet an unreliable friend? She had already paid for the house she rented from him, but the real landlord came to collect the rent. At this time, Summer realized that she had been cheated. The hateful liar took the rent and disappeared. Summer was kicked out of the house by the landlord. She was alone, pulling her suitcase, and had nowhere to go. She was competitive and sat quietly on a bench in the park, shedding tears of grievance. She was tangled in her heart and really didn't know who to ask for help. She took out the cute snowman music box and held it in her arms. Listening to the beautiful melody, she gradually became confused. She seemed to see a tall and handsome man walking towards her, half asleep. He pulled her suitcase and took her hand and walked towards a red car. Just when Summer was trying to break free from the man, she was shaken awake by the community guard. He said to Summer, "Girl, go home quickly. It's so late, it's not safe to be alone outside." Summer squinted her eyes and looked at him. She hummed weakly and said, "Okay, let's go now." After a brief conversation, the two did not say anything else. The guard continued to patrol and left here. Summer reluctantly pulled up the suitcase and didn't know where to go. In the quiet night, under the bright moon, she could vaguely see a tear hanging in the corner of her eye, wet eyelashes, and her bright eyes were still so beautiful. Perhaps to give herself courage, perhaps to comfort her fragile heart, she walked and hummed a song to cheer herself up. No matter how hard the road will be in the future, wipe away the tears and tell yourself not to admit defeat. Even though all this is a mistake, continue to persevere and never admit defeat. In this way, she walked more than 20 kilometers and came to the door of the unit. "It seems that we can only stay here temporarily." Summer, who had stayed at the company for 2 nights, had no choice but to pull her suitcase back home. As soon as she entered the house, her parents sang the same tune. Her father said, "See, I told you that this person is unreliable, so I told you to be more careful." Her mother said, "Of course, you don't know anything about the things in this society, so learn something." The two of them kept talking to each other. Summer wanted to find a crack in the ground to hide in and hide in peace. But she knew in her heart that her parents were worried about her and felt sorry for her. She didn't know how to express and help her. After all, this arrogant princess grew up under their shelter from the wind. She had never been wronged. Summer, who had nowhere to hide, returned to this warm nest. Every morning she had to get up at 5 o'clock to go to work, and it took nearly 3.5 hours to go back and forth. She went out in the dark and came back in the dark every day. Work hard without any complaints, devote yourself to the career you love, study diligently and study hard. Where is Ethan? Where did that handsome boy who was kind and considerate to women go when Summer was most helpless and needed help the most? It was a coincidence that a month ago, when he was about to confess his love to Summer after attending the banquet, Ethan's mother, the chairman of Sinew Company, was suddenly seriously ill and hospitalized. This filial child stayed by his mother's side and sought medical advice everywhere. He wished that someone could accompany him, give him some encouragement and comfort, and help him get through the difficulties. Maybe his filial piety moved God, or maybe his mother was lucky enough to escape this. Seeing that his mother's health had improved, Ethan was very happy. He hurried back to work to deal with the pile of trivial matters that were overwhelming. When everything was arranged, he called Summer and asked her to have dinner together at a Mexican restaurant. At this moment, Summer, who had been waiting for a long time, thought that Ethan would not contact her again. After all, their family backgrounds and careers were very different. Her mother always told her, "Marry a man and you will have clothes to wear and food to eat. In the future, you should find a man of equal status, who can provide you with food and live a down-to-earth life. We don't want to climb high branches, we just want to treat you well." Summer, who had been influenced by these words since childhood, had no confidence in herself. Therefore, she was very unconfident and timid in front of this matter. When she received the call, she was happy, but also worried and afraid. She was worried that she had chosen the wrong person and would not be happy in the future, and that he would disappear without a trace again. She didn't want to endure such frustration and trauma. So, she tactfully rejected the man who had always liked her. Ethan didn't care. He knew that after all, he had disappeared for so long. She must have some doubts and distrust in herself. So he drove to the door of Summer's unit. Every morning and evening, he quietly waited for her at her home and workplace, picking her up and dropping her off at get-off work. He never stopped for a year, guarding this kind-hearted girl who was like an angel. Ethan's sincere devotion touched Summer, and she decided to take him home to meet her parents. After all, this was her first love, and her loving parents were very happy to hear about it. Her mother went out early in the morning and bought Summer's favorite fruits and vegetables at the market. Her father bought live fish and pork belly, and even cooked a large table of delicious food for them, waiting for them to come home. In the past year or so, Ethan has also experienced a lot. Since his mother fell ill, the company has been getting worse day by day. Shareholders have withdrawn their shares, and his father fell ill and died. Although his mother is in better health, she still has to go to the hospital for chemotherapy every day. During this period of depression, having friends and Summer's company was his greatest satisfaction and comfort. Now, the newly registered company has just started, and everything has to start all over again. Although Summer has accepted him and has decided to follow him for life. But Ethan still wants to wait until the company can go public and his mother's illness can get better, and then give Summer a happy home. He was hesitant, but it was difficult to refuse her kindness. In the end, he chose to let nature take its course and face and accept it calmly. The small mobile phone triggered a beautiful love story. From quiet watch, to mutual attraction, to missed opportunities, they experienced a lot and finally chose to be together. Strength and companionship after being together. In order to save manpower for the company and to help Ethan rebuild the company, Summer quit her favorite and always struggled career. She chose to stay with Ethan. Summer knew that after she lost her job, she would no longer have a fixed income every month, and sometimes she would even have to pay for the purchase out of her own pocket. However, she was willing to stay with this caring man who had helped her find a house and encouraged her to move forward. She is so pure, black and white. In her world, right is right and wrong is wrong. There are no words like almost, probably, or just let it go. She is so stubborn that she is even paranoid. As long as she is determined, no matter what anyone says, it is useless. No matter how her family dissuades her, she has not wavered and has never wanted to give up. Ethan sees it with his eyes and feels pain in his heart. He hates himself for being incompetent and useless. Because everything in the company has always been managed by his father and mother. Since his father left and his mother fell ill, there is no one around him who can help him. Only the brother who has been through life and death with him and the woman who loves her deeply and always encourages her, Summer. Ethan works tirelessly outside every day to find customers and resources. His brother became a courier, wearing a military coat and riding an electric bike to deliver goods, and Summer became a handyman and accountant in the company. The daily work is to clean the company, go to the bank, keep accounts, and cook 3 meals a day for them. The 3 of them are tired like dogs every day. When they are sleepy, they can fall asleep anywhere in the company. They are so tired that they don't even want to say a word. In the biting winter, the cold wind seems to blow into their skin, reach their bones, and bring bursts of pain, but they never give up. Every day, they push a flatbed cart, pull a cart of paper, and run more than 300 kilometers to deliver goods. In such a hard day, Ethan is happiest when he returns to the company after delivering the goods and eats the hot soup noodles made by Summer. As long as this girl is with him, he feels at ease. No matter how hard or tired, he is willing. Sometimes, they even think long-term. The two often enjoy life under the night sky, planning their beautiful future, with their own courtyard, a group of like-minded friends, and opening a warm academy for Summer. But now this once arrogant, gentle, and elegant bookish woman accompanies him through hardships, and Ethan really feels that he owes her. Ethan hopes that his efforts today can bring them happiness in the future. They wanted to make this woman who had gone through fire and water for him and never left him live an extraordinary life. In this way, they worked hard day after day. The company's performance was booming, and they slowly built their own new team. Summer, the girl who had always been by his side, finally passed the accounting exam through her own efforts. For a girl with a liberal arts background to switch to science, it was a complete transformation for her. Now they no longer use flatbed trucks and motorcycles for delivery, but white vans. They also rented a new place, which is more spacious and bright, and can accommodate about 5 to 6 people. Ethan also proved his strength with his actions, and everyone also saw the development prospects of the office supplies industry. In order to expand the company, Ethan discussed with Summer and friends and wanted to apply for a 10 million company. They will establish an operations department, a sales department, and their own management team. In this way, we can participate in bidding and win more good projects. Ethan inherited his parents' business acumen and always thinks longer than others. However, Summer and Jikue could not help him. They scraped together but could not borrow so much money. Ethan thought of discussing with his mother, hoping to get her support and help. When Ethan's father was alive, the company was running smoothly and making some money. His mother thought about it for a long time. Seeing her son's unremitting efforts and his love and determination for this business, she was ready to invest. Moreover, she promised her son to help him find some big companies to sign investment projects and do her best to help Ethan run the company better. Hearing this news, Summer was very happy for Ethan. However, her mother had not mentioned their relationship because of her poor health. Her mother only knew that there was a female employee in the company who had been following Ethan. Summer didn't know whether to leave or stay at this time. She had an inexplicable inferiority and hesitation in her heart. Because she always thought that her family was really a world apart from Ethan's. She was not good at talking since she was a child and was even more unwilling to get involved in their circle of rich people. Fame, interests, money. The more she thought about it, the more crazy she became, and the more insecure she felt. At this time, she kept thinking about her parents' words of dissuasion. I have already invested so much money, don't bother anymore. I only make so little money every month, when will it end? Next year, find a job by yourself and do your own business. If you are down to earth, we will be relieved. Otherwise, we will be worried about you all day long. We are old and can't stand this. Alas, Summer almost collapsed every day listening to these words. How many times did she want to tell Ethan? However, seeing how tired he is every day, I really can't bear to say it out loud. The new company was registered, named Tongda Company, Limited. The founder of the company is Ms. Shiryu Xin, and the person in charge of corporate management is Ethan. Looking at all this, she finally became somewhat sober. She had been fighting for it for 1,258 days and nights, always by his side to encourage and support him. What will she get in return for her hard work? If she continues like this here, what is she? Will she continue to be the accountant of this company? At this time, she remembered what her parents said. Summer's choice may seem stupid to others. Silly Summer abandoned herself for love. She supported and accompanied Ethan without regrets. She didn't think about what such companionship meant to her. Only through common progress and growth can they attract each other. There will be endless topics between the two, and they can support and help each other. If it is the other way around, what will be the ending? After all, this is not Summer's specialty and field. She began to feel inferior and wanted to escape. Leave or stay. During the days when I walked hand in hand with Ethan, Ethan was like a burning flame, putting all his passion and energy into his career. His fighting spirit seemed tireless, and his efforts and hard work were constantly injected into his career blueprint like a trickle. However, a subtle detail was like a seed that fell quietly, slowly taking root in Summer's heart. In his communication with his mother, he did not mention a word about their relationship. This seemingly inadvertent move gradually fostered an inexplicable and difficult to dispel uneasiness in Summer's heart. Summer's life was like a clock that was wound up, busy and regular. Every day, she started running from the dawn and was busy until the night fell. In the company, she was responsible for all the trivial tasks of logistic support, the careful preparation of 3 meals a day, the meticulous work of receiving goods, the rush of bank teller, and the patient tidying up the house. Each task was like a stone, constantly piling up on her body and mind. At the end of the day, she was often exhausted, as if her body was hollowed out. And Ethan, as his career progressed step by step, became busier and busier like a spinning top, unable to stop. Every day, he could not even squeeze out a short time to say a word to Summer. Gradually, they seemed to be separated by an invisible veil, which blurred each other's vision and blocked the intimacy they once had. Maybe the common language slipped away quietly in the gap of time, maybe Summer's heart became sensitive and narrow in exhaustion and loneliness, or maybe she really should give this man who was working hard for his career more understanding and time. These speculations and doubts were like tangled vines, intertwined in the depths of Summer's heart, making her fall into deep entanglement. Until one day, when Summer's thoughts were briefly pulled away from the busy life, her mother's words to her were like a flash of lightning that cut through the darkness, instantly illuminating the corner of her confused heart. A poor man's ambition should not be poor, and a woman should live on her own to have dignity. This sentence was like a deafening thunder, exploding in her heart, awakening the voice that had been hidden deep in her heart. After countless painful inner struggles, Summer finally chose to leave resolutely like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. This decision, like an axe that cuts off a rope, although difficult, also carries a glimmer of hope for the future. After leaving, Summer seemed to be standing on a brand new continent. Facing many choices in life, she bravely bid farewell to the career that she was not good at and had long been exhausted. She decided to pick up the love that had been forgotten in the corner, and resolutely embarked on a challenging but hopeful road. She is like a persistent traveler, studying hard in the ocean of knowledge and writing tirelessly in the world of words. After countless days and nights of persistence and hard work, Summer finally emerged like a phoenix reborn from the ashes, emerging as a butterfly from its cocoon, and became a female writer with tens of thousands of fans. With her hard work and persistence, she wrote a new chapter in her life. Looking back, Summer was filled with emotion, and her heart was filled with emotions. She wrote affectionately, "I once walked through your heart in a naive way. It was not that I did not want to stay, but that you never cherished me. At that time, I thought that as long as we insisted on each other, we would not be separated, and we could have our own happy life. I was kind, and I once paid for you. I thought that as long as we insisted on each other, we would not be separated, and we could always move each other with our sincerity and exchange for our happy life. But I never thought that one day I would make a new choice. Facing these, I was caught off guard, panicked, and did not know how to choose. At that moment, I realized that people should learn to look at the long term and live for themselves. The weakness, kindness, and innocence in the past only made people feel pitiful and cowardly. Sometimes I also wondered if the persistence in the past was worth it. Even if that moment really brought sympathy and pity, could it bring true happiness? Today, Summer is as gentle as the spring breeze, as gentle as a scholar from a book, and as calm as a quiet lake. She is like the snow lotus standing on the snowy mountain, not arrogant or impatient, blooming her own beauty alone. Her beauty is not only external, but also a kind of power emanating from the depths of her heart, warming everyone who meets her. Driven by the strong desire, Summer returned to the past like an iron needle attracted by a magnet. Time seemed to have lost its magic, and she seemed to have forgotten the passage of time, but she could only clearly remember the tenderness between her lips and teeth. He stood aside, although they had not met for many years, but he still left a lingering affection in Summer's heart. That affection was like a faint blue smoke, ethereal and lasting, and could not be easily dissipated. When they hugged each other again, memories came like a tide, and the tenderness of the past was once filled in the air again, as if time had never passed, and they were still the same as before. The hand of fate, like a ruthless manipulator, once again mercilessly manipulated their life trajectories. Summer had to slowly walk away from him again, like two fallen leaves, drifting in the wind, each heading in a different direction. Fate left them with a love that they could not choose, like a beautiful but slightly sad incomplete painting, forever fixed in the long river of time, becoming an unforgettable memory in Summer's heart. That memory was like a bright star, shining in her heart, with both beauty and pain, becoming an unforgettable and unique scenery in her life journey. As the wheel of time rolled forward, the story of Summer and Ethan seemed to be a touching chapter in the book of fate. The story is over,